I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought at night just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello, and welcome to Season 32, Episode 14 of the Happy Jacks RPG podcast. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Riley.
And I'm Adam.
And on today's episode, Steve from Wisconsin wants our input on different TTRPG games. Alvarant asks about clerics quitting their jobs, and Jolene shares a horror slash prank slash definitely not a success story, but not horrible story. So, if you'd like to contribute a question or story to the show, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. Please send us emails. Please. Please send us emails. Okay.
And more about clerics. Absolutely.
Yeah, always about clerics, yes.
I'm in the clerics.
I love clerics.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yay.
Clerics are a class that I started playing like late into my gaming,
Yeah.
and I just like I had a character. I was like, I'm gonna try this out, and I ended up loving it.
Yeah.
And now it's like my
Yeah.
go-to class.
Awesome.
All right. Announcements. Gateway 2023 is happening at the Hilton LAX September 1st through 4th. We will be there. There's a booth, and we're also running games, and we're doing our live show on Saturday night. So this next week, the show will be on Saturday night. It will be a kerfuffle of live people talking drunkenly. Yeah, not like normal.
No.
So if you'd like to join us, you can go to strategicon.net. And we have checked for those of you who follow these things. The Hilton LAX is not on the strike list for hotels that are part of the the local 11 hospitality workers strike that's happening right now. So you can come to the con and not feel guilty and not cross a picket line.
Yeah.
So
Don't cross picket lines.
Support
don't
workers.
do it.
Support workers.
All right. Our indie designer of the month, Rob Iber, is still our amazing indie designer of the month because a few more days in August. It's like
Yeah.
the longest month.
Yeah.
Not because of Rob. Rob's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
But August is just a hard month for all
Yeah.
teachers everywhere.
Yeah.
You
But
can
you
find
have to pick a long month for Rob so that there's plenty of time
Plenty.
to appreciate him.
all
It's the
the
longest month too if you get paid twice a month. So you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
last week to get that paycheck.
What? Yeah.
It's like weird because there's so many other days that are 31 days, but for some reason there's something about the way
Yeah.
August lines up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially for teachers because I haven't been paid since school, and
Oh.
I got a paycheck at the beginning of summer,
Yeah.
so I have
Yeah.
to wait. September,
Right.
August 31st, I get my next paycheck.
Yeah. Fair.
Things
Yeah.
are very thin.
Well,
Yeah. Oof. And you can find his games at nerdypapergames.itch.io. Right, so we're still talking about Rob. Back to Rob.
Yes, back to Rob.
Back to Rob.
Always
Important.
back to Rob.
And you can find
It's a
him.
long month, Rob. Sorry.
Yeah. We love you, Rob. And you can find his games at and you can find him at Nerdy Paper Games on Blue Sky.
Woo.
So that's very exciting. So the game we're talking about this week is Have At You. It is a GM-less tool designed to spark thrilling one-on-one combat at your table with mechanics inspired by martial arts movies, 2D fighting games, and real-life fencing. All you need is a partner and 2 standard decks of playing cards. You will win when your opponent runs out of cards or gets pushed out of the arena. And you can play that at name your own price at nerdypapergames.itch.io. There is a little disclaimer on there. If you are a true fencer, it is made to recreate the feeling of a fencing fight. It does not have all the very subtle nuances that I don't even know what they're talking about with actual fencing rules and such things. But if you want a cool fight, in Princess Bride, it definitely does that kind of combat work. Very exciting and
Something to tell
energetic.
you,
Yeah,
I am not
it's-
left-handed either.
Haha.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. And this is a very cool game and a very cool mechanic that you can actually pick up and move into other things. If you're doing something and you have a system that you'd love to have a duel, but there's not really a duel rule set, this is something that you can really easily just grab and
that's
pull
cool.
in. Yeah, it's very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's very neat. And beautiful art as always, because Rob is an artist on top of being a game designer, which is really unfair.
Yeah.
Like, really unfair.
Yeah.
All right.
Pick one, Rob.
Pick one, Rob.
Boo.
Be handsome or drawing talented or designer talented.
Right? You
Yeah,
can't
or have a
be
blue sky.
all that.
Three.
Yeah, I have a blue sky.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Rob.
Or have
don't
a
even
long
have a
month.
blue sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rob does have blue sky.
Yeah.
He's no paper games on blue sky.
Oh damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess you get everything.
That's what I'm saying. Rob gets everything.
Fine.
Rob gets the longest month.
Right,
Gets to
yeah.
be super. What's the word I was looking for? Swarthy. I don't know if that's true, but I would. Yeah.
Very
Yes.
good.
First blade of
Yes.
Bravos. I don't know what else.
That makes sense. All right. Mailbag number 1. This is you.
This is the
Adam,
long
ready
one.
to go.
Okay. All right. I'll read this one. Okay. All right. Mailbag number 1. Greetings to all the Jackers, including Kimmy, and any previous host you may or may not have buried under the foundation of the new studio. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, it was easy to dig out. It was fine.
Right? Yeah.
It wasn't that dark at all.
Yeah, right. He's still alive.
He's fine.
Just buried. Gamers have a wide variety of preferences between games, and I'm fascinated by the reasons for those preferences. Many of the games you play and discuss on the Advice Show are ones I love. There are also games Jackers repeatedly praise that I don't love. Please help me understand. What do you like about Savage Worlds? Please give your answers before reading or responding to my answer.
Ooh.
So, all right. What do you guys like about Savage Worlds? Or not?
Certainly game.
Yeah, I really like Savage Worlds. The thing is, Savage Worlds was kind of like a great new way to play. It's kind of like what PBTA kind of was, and now like Forged in the Dark games kind of are for a while. It was the thing that was like, wow, this is really different than a lot of other systems out there.
Yeah.
And it felt so refreshing, and it felt so like rules light compared to a lot of the things that were out at the time.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't so much because the scene has changed so much. I really love. It was one of the first games that I played that like brought card mechanics into it, and I kind of loved that aspect of it, especially for certain settings. Like if you're playing like Wild West games, it's just so cool to kind of have that piece there.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Savage Worlds uses a deck of cards for initiative. And, yeah.
What I'll say about Savage Worlds is say a nice thing about. I don't like Savage Worlds. I haven't had a lot of fun playing it. But what I will say that I like about it is I am a fan of any system that is designed in a way that allows you to open up your creativity about the setting and things like that, because a lot of games, and this isn't necessarily a fault of the game, but a lot of games are designed for a specific setting in mind.
Yeah.
And when you try to play outside of the genre that game is designed for, you have to do a lot of heavy lifting to try to like, shove that square peg into that round hole.
Right.
Whereas I feel like Savage Worlds is actually more the various holes, and you can bring whatever peg you want into it. And I do think that it's malleable in that way. But like you said, I think I prefer a PBTA or Forged in the Dark mod instead of Savage Worlds personally for me for those kinds of things. But again, those games all came later, and I've gotten used to playing them, and it's like it's a lot easier to pick up 2 D6s than it is to pick up a deck of cards and a series of other dice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's one of the things I really like, that it uses all the dice. I think because I love Power of the Apocalypse and stuff, but there's like I have so many pretty
I
dice,
know.
and there's so many games I don't play any that don't use, like most of them don't get used anymore.
Yeah. The polyhedral set it's foundational, and we all love it, and it's we don't know how to explain it. We just love it, and it's all the different dice, and you want to play with them, and Savage Worlds lets you do that. So, so I went through a big Savage Worlds phase, and like you were saying, for me, it kind of really opened up gaming after my foundational experiences of D&D and World of Darkness, and it felt like this very free, flexible thing that didn't require a huge amount of investment to get into. I mean, like this entire Savage Worlds book was the size of like
so thin,
it's so thin, and it's like it's like 2 chapters out of a World of Darkness book, and it actually has all the rules in place. So I always joke about World of Darkness. You have to like the rules are all there. You just have to read through 4 pages of text to find out that it's it's not in the section
Yeah.
that is talking about the thing you're looking for the rule for.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. So,
accurate.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my first experience with Savage Worlds was the Necessary Evil setting, which is where aliens basically trick Earth into thinking that they're there as friends, and then they end up killing all the superheroes. And so, basically, the setup is a sort of Doctor Doom-like character is like, well, I'm not going to let aliens take over the world. I have to do that.
Yeah.
And so he basically starts gathering up supervillains to become heroes and fight the alien invasion.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a super cool story. And it works great in Savage Worlds because Savage Worlds it's a very swingy thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like you either have complete failure or you have massive overblown success, and that's part of the fun of it.
Yeah.
So but you don't do Savage Worlds when you want to do really subtle characters or really complicated nuanced scenes. Like that's just not what it does.
Yeah, I think if you're not used to it, I think that it feels crunchier than it probably is.
Yeah.
Like when I was learning to play it, I played it on here for a little bit, and I also played it for a game that Dom was doing on the now defunct saving throw.
Yeah.
But I did the Pathfinder Savage Worlds as like a demo, and I felt like I was being taught to play the Cones of Dunshire the entire time. Like every time I wanted to do anything, I felt like I was like, that's not how that works. This time you roll these 2 dice, but next time you roll these dice. But if this roll dice this, then you do this thing.
Yeah.
But then if it's a Tuesday, you do this. And I was just like, I thought that D&D was crunchy, and maybe it seems more crunchy when you know both systems inside and out.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like, I can't believe this is supposed to be like the easier system out of the two, because I felt so lost. And then like, oh yeah, I hit that guy, so I roll damage. No, first you see if he soaks the damage, and you're like, what? Like, and I remember soaking rules when I played World of Darkness.
Yeah.
So I should know about soaking rules, but for some reason when I was playing it in Savage Worlds, it felt so much more frustrating.
Yeah.
I was like, but I hit him. What do I do? Yeah.
It is like I think it might be my favorite setting. It might be my favorite like setting and like tone agnostic game, like just total generic rule system, because you really can play anything in it.
Yeah.
I've played Wild West games. I've played superhero games. We played freaking Rifts, which is just wild madness, of the craziest degree. You know, and it does fantasy, like it does all these things, which is really cool underneath the rule set. It is like a lot of games out there. Like there's bits I like about the Genesis system. There's things I like about Cortex and things like that too. But a lot of it relies on the GM that you get too. Yeah. Because it's a tool set more than like a PBTA game has things in it to drive story.
Yes.
And Savage Worlds, as it is, I mean, there are some specific books that are different a little bit in a couple ways, but for the most part, it's literally just a tool set. So the GM has to, and the group has to do a little bit more heavy lifting to get the kind of narrative, like ping pong ball,
which is almost
bouncing.
No,
it's good.
Which is almost the opposite of PBTA, which is that basically the narrative is almost built into the game itself. And if you have one type of PBTA game, it's very hard to do something different with it than what's intended by those sets that it comes with. Like every PBTA offshoot is almost designed to fit one very specific genre.
Exactly. It has to be. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. And there's something to be said about a system that you can grab off the shelf and play like any kind of setting you want, versus like, as much as I love PBTA, having to go track down the PBTA hack that is specific for the thing, because the moves all have to do with whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't just like kind of build a character. You're like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this and then put it together. You're like, no, I have to go track down the Star Wars hack or the this hack, so that you can have those characters that fit in the tropes of that genre, whatever it is.
Where if you want to play Savage Worlds, or if you're playing Savage Worlds, you can just like, if you know how to play a fantasy game in Savage Worlds, you can just reskin things and play a Star Wars game in Savage Worlds, and it's all right there. It's an easy transition. I think it's best as a transition game for people who want to get out of D&D rut but everything else seems so foreign and so different. So I feel like Savage Worlds is a good way to get D&D stuck players to realize there are other options out there, and they're not scary. You can have fun with them.
Yeah. So. And I mean, I still like, get the itch for Savage Worlds every once in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I still get the itch for D&D every once in a while. Every like 3
Right.
years, I'm like, I'm gonna play D&D, and then I'm like in it for a few weeks, and I'm like, why am I playing D&D? What am I doing with my life right now?
I think Savage Worlds made me go, boy, I really like 5th edition
Yeah,
a lot. And, like, around the time I was playing Savage Worlds, we did for the season premiere of Game of Rassilon. So Cubicle 7, who publishes the Game of Rassilon book, the Doctor Who role-playing game
Yeah.
books, they also published a book called Doctors and Daleks, which was their 5e version of the
Yeah.
same game.
Oh, okay.
And
Best title ever.
yeah,
right?
and
It's
it was
still D&D. It's amazing.
it's great. But yeah, it used the SRD, but it changed all the stuff into Doctor Who-y things and like, quips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I probably have to stop saying the name of a struck property. I think I'm okay up to this point because I'm talking about it in regards to another topic, but I
Yes.
should be careful.
Okay.
But yeah, the problem with that book even, and I liked the book a lot, was that it assumed I thought about this when jumping about the vampire thing. The 5e version of that game assumes you have the SRD and doesn't put the rules in the core book.
Yeah,
And I didn't know that until I had a player who kept being confused trying to make a character, and I couldn't figure out what her confusion was. And then I finally went to the section and I realized, oh, all the stuff about standard array and stuff is not in this book. You have to have the SRD.
Yeah.
But it also made me go, oh, I can see actually how malleable the SRD actually is to other games now. And so now I'm like, well, I might be less of a convert to Savage Worlds now because I can see how easily the system that I know inside and out can be done in other genres now.
And and I mean, honestly, like when I first got into Savage Worlds, our option was 3.5 D&D, and that was, and it was like Savage Worlds was a huge departure from that.
Yeah.
5e is so much more interesting and streamlined and flexible. And so Savage Worlds isn't quite as great a departure from 5e as it was from 3.5.
Yeah, it was a total trailblazer though.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it really was like such a big jump, and like really I think made a lot of people reflect on like games in general, game design. I think it really kind of launched people really trying really new things.
Yeah.
One thing that turned me off about it, and I've been told this is not true in all the books, but everything I read had it this way, was that it always referred to the players with male pronouns, and that really turned me off a lot when I was. And I've been told that other books don't have it that way, but I also was told there was a backlash against that, and they went back to using all male pronouns, which is that's the case. It makes me not like it even more.
Right.
So, but I remember being really frustrated when I was learning how to play the game and like using. And I will say their online tool is really great for a free. So that's another nice thing I'll say about it.
Yeah.
Their online utility for how to like build a character is super useful and helpful for new players, especially. But even that would always use male pronouns, and it was really off-putting to have myself referred to as he all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can't remember all the details about that issue, but I remember that coming up, and I don't know if they've resolved that or not. But I will also echo the about their online tools. Pinnacle is really good at making a lot of stuff free on their websites. To extra things to help you play the game, and like templates that you can print out and cut out and things like that, for like blast radiuses and stuff. So they do a lot of cool free stuff that's I would like more games to do. So. Okay, so here is Steve's response. My main issue with Savage Worlds is that the combination of adding a wild die to all rolls, plus the likelihood of exploding dice, plus the inclusion of bennies, plus jokers combines to greatly de-emphasize the various characters' skill levels. It feels like every encounter I experience in a Savage Worlds game, whether combat or non-combat, is decided entirely by chance. I want the character's stats to matter. I want the nerdy character to be way better at nerdy stuff, and the fighty character to consistently outperform her in combat. So, yeah, I totally get that. And yes, I think it is probably one of the biggest weaknesses of Savage Worlds is that swing.
But it's also like one of the things I love.
Yeah.
I think I would like it more if it wasn't such a hard time making a character. Like there's so many steps to making a character, and then it's like, well, that was done. See you later.
Oh man. See, I love the exploding die.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things. And I love bennies. I think the idea of bennies has been more elegantly done since then in other games.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love, especially the first time, I was like, I get a thing for doing well in role play. Like I think it was one of the first games that really wanted you to do that and really encouraged that in the rules.
Yeah.
And exploding die are so fun.
Yeah, exploding die is very fun.
Oh man, like there's nothing like that moment when you're like playing and you're like, oh, it really matters, and you throw down and it's like, oh, it exploded. Oh, I did it again.
Yeah.
And then like the entire table's like, ah.
Yeah, especially when it's a D4 and you're just like, bam, bam, bam.
Do you think you can do terrible and then it's like the best possible?
Right, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So my take on this comment is that it can also really depend on your GM. If your GM knows how to turn these moments into exciting heroics and flashy spectacle, then that feels much more rewarding and consistent than if they're just like, okay, yeah, you swing, you're done, and good job, you killed them. You need that the whole table to feel that excitement of this was not supposed to happen. Holy shit, it happened. And so I think there is a lot of fun to be had there, but it's better when you have somebody who really knows how to use that to tell the story.
Yeah, I love it for specifically. I think the most fun I've ever had playing it. I played it a ton. Actually, it was one of the first games I ever GM'd too. So, which was like fun and kind of an interesting experience as I was a new budding baby GM. But I think it really lends itself well to Rifts. Rifts, if you don't know what it is a just wild setting that is like actually was its own game and things like that. It's like weird, post-apocalyptic, very complicated, like
dimension hopping, right?
Dimension hopping. So like everything happens together. So you can be like, there's like a weird alternate history. And when we played, Samantha was a dragon, like a legit baby dragon from another dimension. And like, I was I was a techno knight who had like a cool fire sword. And then like, you can also just have a bazooka and Bill was I feel like Stu was a glitter boy is what they call him, with like, it was basically like these giant hulks of like Hulkbuster armor basically.
Okay.
And I was like, they call them glitter boys, and it's just like just very specific, detailed, amazing, incredible setting that is just off the rails to start. The old system for it is just such a headache. So like Savage Worlds, I think, does a great job of pulling out these cool kind of gems and then putting it into the Savage World system so it's much more playable. So playing that, I think Savage Worlds really lend itself well to that, because it's such an extreme system. It's like if you're blowing things up with your giant Hulkbuster armor, or like unleashing yourself as a baby dragon who's angry and like still can just murder the fuck of everything because you're giant still. Like it's baby but big. Yeah. Actually, no, she was an angsty teen dragon.
Okay. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's even more
terrifying. She was just super annoyed all the time and like was constantly writing in her journal. We have like art that's like for the studio, whatever, I hang it of like this big red dragon like hanging out, like writing in a journal. It's amazing. But it lends itself really well to that, and I think like superhero stuff and magic, I think all that is stuff it does really well.
And it mixes things really well. Everything's kind of on the same playing field. Okay, so the next subject, what do you like / love about Legend of the Five Rings?
Okay, this needs like some qualifiers because there's different versions of it. So there's the Fantasy Flight version, which I feel like if you've listened to this podcast for more than like 20 minutes, you've probably heard how much we dislike that particular version. With the caveat that we beta tested it and it was a hot mess with beta. The kind of other edition that most people play is what we've played. We played a ton of different campaigns. I really like that system. There is a lot now that we're a little more informed. It's a pretty problematic system, setting. Because it borrows very heavily from like actual people's cultures, and none of those people were involved in writing it at all.
Right.
Which is
That's kind of when I stopped my interest in it.
Yeah. So that's why we haven't played it, and I don't know, probably ever will play it again. As far as the rule sets, it has a lot of neat things in it. I really love the duel mechanics.
Yeah.
Duels are deadly as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you step in a duel, you may die, you may both die, you may die very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So it's like a big decision to do that. And I love games that have that real consequence, that it feels like if you are doing something that is deadly and like it should have that edge to it, and like it really has that tension involved with it.
Yeah.
And it does have this amazing ability to go from like it's like you can do full on huge like wars, like battles. There's actually like a battle set of rules, but it also transitions seamlessly to court politics, where none of you have any fighting skills and you all just are courtiers doing a complete game of like politics in a winter court where you all are just backstabby as fuck.
Right. Yeah.
And like nobody actually hurts anybody, but like lives are ruined and your clan is like shamed for all time just because you like, and there's not a lot of systems that can like encompass both of those things.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot of design gems that I mean, I really would love to see the mechanics of that adopted by a group of people who are of that culture, rewriting it in a way that was that it is not all about like honor, like in the like way that white people tend to like focus on. And I'm owning it. And when I played it, like I'm sure we did that too.
Yeah. We, we learn.
Yes.
And that's something that that a lot of us didn't know when we were first exploring it, and later realized, oh, this is problematic. And it wasn't, well, I compared a lot to Coyote and Crow, which is very explicit in this is a native game in a native setting, and it is pan-native, kind of like made to be sort of generic, about native cultures, but it's removed from real history, and it's written by natives as a gift to natives and non-natives alike. And that's what Legend of the Five Rings should have been. Is it should have been written with people from the various cultures that were being appropriated, let's be honest about it, and had input in it, and had buy-in, and should have been sought as like, hey, this sounds really cool, we have this great idea, we're not the people who should be writing it. Let's find people who are of those cultures, who can write it, and and give them ownership of the work. So,
but that, I mean,
I
mean, in a in an industry, especially then, like 25 years ago. I'm not sure exactly when the first L5R was published, but I mean, the concept of that, it was like, that wasn't anything. It wouldn't even have occurred to even well-meaning people. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying, like we looking on it with our lens now, like, we can't, it's exactly, unfortunate. But I would love a version of it, because it also has, I love the magic system in it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's so popular still, is because it was one of those first systems that really, in the way Vampire totally like kind of went, we are not European fantasy.
Right.
So it like really like, scratched that itch
or
for
European
people.
Gothic.
Yeah.
Right.
But it like scratched that itch of people who wanted something different.
Yeah.
And it really was one of the first ones who was really something very, very different. Not just kind of a different flavor of, high fantasy in like something that we're familiar with.
Yeah. And I will say they're beautiful books. God, they're just gorgeous.
Chat says it was originally published in 1995.
1995, okay, which was forever ago, and I hate that.
But, almost 30.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing that got me into it when you guys were starting to play the Fantasy Flight version on stream, and I was like, well, this sounds really cool, and I know they hate it, but it sounds really awesome. I want to check it out. And I started reading the books, and especially the adventure modules are just fantastically written, and so like I kind of got into them reading them from the perspective of creating a module or creating a campaign. Like, oh, they have so many interesting things here and so many ways you could go, and they were actually just really riveting to just read through the campaign. And so a lot
of really great and again, like, it should have been done by people of those cultures, but it is in very intricate world building too.
Yeah.
Like, there's each clan, like a lot of it's stereotypical and not super great looking in reading through it again, but like it's very detailed. If you it's something like, if you wanted to there's so much detail in it, it's equal to like Star Wars, or something like that, where people have been adding to it and building on it since 1995, evidently. So it's like there's so much history and like family trees that you can do, and it's just there's a lot of there for people who love running systems where in worlds that are very detailed.
There also their 20 questions character generating system.
That's cool.
Really cool. And I would love to see that into more.
So much great mechanics that should be used for other things.
Use it.
And honestly, to be fair, like, you could very easily do like an Avatar game, like with like the elemental powers. Like I feel like when I first watched Avatar, like the cartoon, I feel like I kind of thought about it later. I was like, I wonder if they played Elphaba, because it's. I mean, I guess they're both like taken, stolen by white people from the original cultures. So like that's very much a part of kind of those cultures. But it's just kind of a thing when people were like, "Oh, we need to make an Avatar game." I was like, well. I mean, you could take mechanics from L5R and basically just do that like immediately. That's what it was. It was an air Shugen.
I haven't played it.
Haven't played it. Okay.
I was able to sit quietly and rest my voice for this.
Totally fine.
I haven't played the next one either, actually. I've been wanting to, but I haven't.
So Steve's response on Five Rings. The game system is fine, but every L5R group I've experienced plays out American stereotypes of overly formal Japanese nobles. Now we will have bowing, and we will speak slowly and over-enunciate every word. For honor! It's annoying at best, often cringy, and occasionally offensive. Have you experienced L5R without this effect? If so, how? Well, I would only say I did experience without that when I briefly ran for a few sessions a very small game with three very specific people and who understood understood how to not go into stereotypes and we're really in it for exploring the world, exploring the characters, and having good RP together, and so we didn't do that, but ultimately I ran out of bandwidth. It was something I tried during COVID. And so now I was like, okay, I have 8 games and some of them have to go, and this is one of them. So, but I mean, we had the best time just creating characters, and then I had so many ideas come from characters, but we only played like maybe 2 or 3 sessions of actual campaign. So, but
I feel like Dave did a really good job with his character in our campaigns of not being that. He was like very jovial and kind of like he's a drinker, and like he definitely pulled away from what a lot of people play that game as. I don't know if I'm not qualified to say whether our campaign was respectful or cringy. I'm sure I remember a few cringy moments for sure. But we didn't do like bad accents. So that's like
that's step one right there.
Don't do that.
So that was a step above some of the other actual plays I've started to listen to and then immediately turned off about it. So I don't know.
All right. So so the last one, I feel like you might want to just like recycle this one and hold off until you have more people who have played Traveler here. So because the next one is, what do you love about Traveler? Riley hasn't played it. I have only gone through character creation of
Okay.
Traveler a couple of times, but I haven't actually played it either. So
I feel like it's
yeah.
better just to finish the email altogether.
Okay.
Just like as a completionist,
Yeah.
like having the email all in one place. Because
Okay.
honestly, the chances of me finding the email again and pulling out this section
Right,
and
yeah.
remembering
Yeah.
not to put the whole email in, and like it's very complicated.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So, what do you love about Traveler? And I will give all that I can give,
Do it.
which is the character creation is fucking cool.
It's so fucking
It's
cool.
so much fun. Yeah.
It's
That's the
my
best.
favorite thing about that system.
Yeah.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
every edition I've played of it, like the character generation is so fucking cool. It's its own game.
Yeah.
Like it's like a mini game within the system. And honestly, like there were days where we've been bored and we just did like not for a long time, but back in the day when like a bunch of us didn't have kids and stuff. Like it was like we just sit and we just do Travelers characters.
Yeah.
And if we do it and then we do the next one and we just keep playing that because we didn't really want to game, like we didn't want to do a full game.
Yeah.
And like we all just got to make characters. It was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. When Joey and I visited Bill and Elspeth in London, and that was one of our evenings, was we sat down and Bill took us through Star Wars Traveler character generation.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is the best time.
So much fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never played it. I want to. We're talking about, because we're doing so my unmentioned IP show that I just talked about.
Yeah.
We're sunsetting that soon, and well, we're not recording it all right now because I'm on strike. But we are planning on ending it. We were always planning on ending it after this season, and we are likely going to jump to our own creation IP, a game that we first started playing as a Patreon bonus using Farflung, the PPCA game for it, and now
yeah.
we're looking for like a more crunchy, like more expansive system. It's also like space and adventures and stuff like that. And so Traveler is one of the games that really kind of like crossed our path. We had Traveler. We're leaning towards Blades in the Dark, right? Or what's Scum and Villainy?
Villainy.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But so Traveler, but when our GM read Traveler, he didn't think it was a game he wanted to run, so we kind of put that on the.
It's very crunchy. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
there. And it's very much built to, I mean, you can run it in your own system very easily. But and actually that's what Stu did in all of our campaigns of it is it was a lot of the basics of the campaign, but of like the campaign world. But like there's an expansive, and I mean thousands and thousands of planets, like Traveler maps online,
cool.
like that are all canon. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really neat if you're really into like tech and tech levels.
Yeah.
That's a whole big aspect of it. That is not me generally. So it's always like, okay, Jim, what tech level? What am I allowed to buy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but like, it's very much calibrated to be, I guess, as much of a kind of simulationist, like
Yeah.
sci-fi, futuristic space travel game as you can have in something that's you know, not real. But
Yeah, I love the hard sci-fi edge to it, you know, which is something that I don't see in a lot of games. Even ones that are very explicitly sci-fi don't really kind of focus on that same sort of long-term travel, like some of the, you know, a lot of the sci-fi I grew up reading.
Yeah.
And so I think it's always really intrigued me for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
one of the good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it seemed to me from my limited exposure that it actually would be really good at using it to play an Expanse game.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That'd be amazing for that.
yeah,
One of my favorite things about it is information only travels at the speed of ships. So, and that's so pivotal in so many campaigns you play in it.
yeah,
So it's like if something bad happens on the planet you're on and you like get the fuck out of there, like you are the people who know this information.
Oh wow, I like
So
that.
yeah, so it's not like Starfleet where you can radio out a message. Like messages can be gone because it's like massive, like from system to system, like it's huge. So like a ship can take like basically they do like data drops where it's like sort of like the Space Pony Express where you pull all this information, you drop it at like the next waypoint, and then it kind of goes out from there.
Yeah.
So something terrible can happen. And if you happen to know about it, you might be in a sector where nobody else has heard about it yet.
yeah,
And things like that, which is very, very interesting because so much sci-fi now has like, oh, everybody knows about it instantly.
Yeah.
And it's very
Yeah.
It's like it's the like sci-fi equivalent of setting your game like before there were cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh no, if you have to dial the phone and
Yeah.
call, oh, they're not picking up. You need to leave a message
Yeah.
on the answering machine,
Right.
or
They
you
have
need
an
to
answering machine?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, fancy, right?
Ooh.
Or whatever it is, and that is like amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so also I did tease Stu at one point. May he rest in peace. Just kidding, Stu's fine. But I did tease Stu at one point, saying that like, okay, like looking at the system, it's basically PBTA. It's you roll 2d6 and you add some numbers to it, and that tells you how good you did. It's PBTA. He didn't take that well.
No, I can't imagine you did.
Anyway, so Steve's response: I hate everything about Traveler. Starting with its wildly random character generation, leading to wildly unbalanced characters. Its detailed tables of weapon versus armor comparison, yet lack any rules whatsoever from any skills. And I could go on. The most fun I've ever had playing Traveler was when the GM customized or hand-waved rules to such an extent that it was unrecognizable. So the Jason
You were playing with
edition.
Jason, okay.
So, yeah.
Jason did a campaign where he started with Traveler and then got tired of it. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
very in real time changed
Yeah. And he kept saying like, we're playing a game with apologies to Traveler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, but yeah, so all the things that we talked about loving about Traveler, Steve hates.
Yeah.
Which is totally okay. You are allowed to
100%.
not like things that that other people like.
Yeah.
We don't yuck your yum. Thank you for all the advice, games, and camaraderie. Steve from Wisconsin, Blue Luck on the Discord. P.S. I recently attended my first JackerCon. Woo! Thank you to the organizers and everyone I got to play with. A special howdy to Millie, Steek, and Rennie from Trevor Twain Dodge McCoy, a.k.a. Trevor T, a.k.a. T if you're from the big city and can't be bothered to spend any time saying anybody's name proper like.
Very nice.
Beautiful. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm so glad you enjoyed JackerCon. It was so cool this year. It was amazing. I can't wait. All right. Mailbag number 2. Do you want to read this one or do you want me to read the last one?
Go ahead and read this one because I just popped a lozenge in my mouth.
Okay, no problem.
Clicking it around while I'm trying to read.
Hi, Jackers. This was on the Discord channel a while back, and I thought it'd be interesting to bring it to the show. I asked if there was a price a cleric had to pay if they left their religious order.
Their soul.
If the order invested resources in an individual, be it training, trust, knowledge, etc., and said individual left, the order may want some of that back. In the real world, some employers help with funding training or higher education for employees, but if said employees left within a certain number of years, they would have to pay back the employer. Likewise, military personnel can't just up and leave on a whim without it being a crime. So if a cleric switches faiths or decides to be independent of their order, should there be similar consequences? Let's do that, and then we'll do the second question.
So I think this is a great question. Do you want to start?
I mean, I do think this is a great question, but I also think it's 100% dependent on the order, on the GM, on the storytelling you're setting up. Because, yeah, there are some orders where they might be like, like, especially if you're like an order that might deal with currency in some way, or like deal with sacrifices that are made in sort of like monetary things, and like now they're out of it. Otherwise, you might have an order that won't. But also an element that I think is not even mentioned here is that many times in fantasy games, the god exists,
right?
Like the god is not just like the idea of a god. Like, it's not just like a faith. It is an actual like being that has at least some level of ability to interact with the world. And so if you leave the order, like you are now an apostate, like you might be like really in danger, and that can lead to a lot of really fun. Because like part of what I like playing clerics and part of why I fell in love with playing clerics is because I feel like the deity aspect of it gives you a built-in role-playing aspect of it, and you get to choose your character relationship with your god. the character that I played, my first cleric ever, hated her god. Her god was unbridled, and I made her based on a I don't know if this is struck or not, so I won't mention it, but there's a very popular franchise that has 2 shows on a certain network, and had a prequel, one is a prequel, and there's a couple islands that are iron, and their god is drowned, and there's a whole lot of stuff in there about like this angry god, and like in the books, which are not struck, in the books there's a whole thing where there's a character called the Dampier who the way he baptizes people is by basically drowning them, and then they resuscitate, and that's when they become like baptized into this faith. And so my god was like, I based this character's god around the idea of like a seafaring culture in a rough and tumble like Scandinavian type country that sees the oceans as angry and vengeful and dangerous, and so everybody in this culture worshipped Umberlee out of fear that Umberlee would just like we have to have somebody in our group who is a Umberlee worshiper so that she won't sink all of our ships. And so you kind of like forced into being a cleric of Umberlee, so you could never really leave her.
Yeah.
In that game. So in that game, like if my character left, she should never go in the ocean ever again.
Right.
Because yeah.
And I think I think you're right. It's very dependent on who the god is, what the order is like. You know, if it's like a very militaristic god, like, you know, like if you're talking about like a god of war or battle or righteousness or justice, something like that, it's very likely, there's going to be some serious consequences either from the order or from your god themselves if you leave, and especially if you switch faiths and leave. But
especially the faith is like a rival god,
right? But you know,
and I think it's important to clarify. It's like it's switching service,
right?
Like you still know they all exist. So that's there's a difference. It's not like, you know, you stop believing in your god because you start. It's like, you know, your god exists and you know that god exists. You're just going to serve the other one now. So it's like that's a big big deal.
Like in Greek mythology, can you imagine like if you were serving Apollo and then you left to serve Athena, Apollo's not going to be happy about that.
No, exactly. And I think first of all, there's a lot of fun gameplay to be had in that dilemma. But I also the other thing I think of with this question is that there are absolutely some gods and some characters where it wouldn't be a big deal at all. And this is what I love about clerics is it is a personal relationship between the character and the deity, not necessarily so the magic doesn't come from the order. The magic comes directly from the deity, and in most cases. So I think you can also have a lot of fun with I left my order. My deity actually loves me more now. What does that mean about my order? Do I need to actually like start going back and knocking some heads together and doing some reform? Or, you know, and so you can have a lot of really fascinating character development from having that personal relationship be the thing that sticks, even though the relationship with the order has gone haywire. You know?
And you get into a lot of like, is the power from the deity itself, or is the power fueled by your belief? So if you end up rejecting the deity you believe in and worshiping their deity, do you have to find a way to like rekindle your belief system in order for your power to work again? That's
a great question too. And the fun thing about this, and this is why I really like actual deities, especially in D&D and other fantasy settings. I think it's a lot of fun to play with. But one of the things I like about it is that there are so many options. And you know, and so if you're you know, and like there are so many ways to play that. If you're you know, if like you could absolutely have 2 clerics. One is powered because of their faith, and the other one is powered because of their direct connection to the god. You know, and they can both coincide in the same world. And you know, and if you've got one of the petty vengeful ones, then you might be fucked. But if you've got like the love and happiness, follow your own path deity, like they're like, go God. That's fine. You can worship like 4 or 5 gods. We're
You go,
poly.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
be
Putting the
back.
poly and
Yeah.
polytheism.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, like bringing up besides like the actual deities and the powers and stuff, though. Like, I think it's fascinating to think of, like there's an order that you're a part of who's like, hey, you were this poor little kid we took in off the street and have been feeding for the last 20
Right.
years. Like, you can't just quit. Like,
Right.
like you swore you were going to be a, paladin to our, or whatever it is. I guess it's
Yeah.
cleric specifically, but I feel like it's also would apply to paladins.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, we taught you how to swing a sword. We gave you all that armor. Give the armor back.
Right,
You don't
yeah.
get to take that with
Yeah.
you.
Right? Yeah.
Like all your nice stuff. No, give
Yeah.
it back. Like,
Especially in 5e when they've let paladins be other alignments, so you can have a lot more variety in what a paladin is.
Yeah.
So so you can have I think you can have a lot more variety there.
Well, in 5e even has the Oathbreaker Paladin as a
Yeah.
possibility of like,
Right.
oh, I've actually broken my oath, and so it's actually going to change what my paladin's
Yeah.
like abilities are.
Right.
If you want to follow that through. I think it'd be really funny if, like, which kind of leads to the next part of this question, but if like, there's a cost,
Yeah.
and then like you hunt them down, you think it's like a really big cost, and then it ends up being like 20 gold pieces.
Yeah.
Because you like that's like a lot of money to a commoner,
Yeah.
but to adventurers it's like petty change.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
we've been hunting you down over mountains and valleys and hills to pay back what you owe us for what we've done for you. Well, how much is it? 30 silver pieces.
Oh.
More than you've ever seen in your lifetime.
yeah, he's like,
Here.
oh, here.
Here.
Here's 60. You know
Yeah.
what? Here's the road
Yeah.
to the trip back.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That would be an amazing story. Oh, so funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I mean, or you can make it like a long-term thing. Make it like a big amount.
Yeah.
That becomes something that they have to be paying off.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
long-term in the campaign.
penance.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
yeah.
like, okay, like you
Yeah.
owe us this huge amount. We'll take it in installments.
Right. Yeah.
Because we're not unfair people.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
just like, so
Yeah.
every time like the party splits up the loot, they're just like
Yeah.
almost all of it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I feel like to me, clerics.
Garnish your paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Clerics and paladins, and just like warlocks they're a golden gift to the GM. Right. In like similar with like anytime there is a character class that has a built-in loyalty system, you can have so much fun as a GM playing with that and testing it and pushing it. And so like I love to I love when somebody has like a warlock patron or like a demonic patron or something like that. And it's like the best thing a GM can do is give them anything they ask for, whatever they want. Like, yeah, of course you can have that. Like, yeah, you can re-roll that again. Go ahead. No, like, and you could, and at first they're like, oh, that's awesome. And then they're like, wait, what did I just do?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just roll dice behind the
Yeah.
screen.
Uh-huh,
Don't
yeah.
say anything about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was just thinking of, because in Rat Queens, there's a section in the comics where Betty is kind of like supposed to like detoxing, and there's like a fairy that follows her around and like knocks drinks out of her hand. I was like, imagine a fairy, like if you like had an angel, like an angelic being that was connected to your order, whose name was Garnish, and their only job was to take your money whenever you needed it.
Every time you're gonna spend it on something nice, you're in line at like the Starbucks or whatever,
Right,
like
yeah.
the D&D equivalent of
Yeah.
it. Like, all right, I'm gonna have a really great meat pie today. Poop,
Nope.
folding your arms. I'm sorry, that is not. No, you
no.
shouldn't be frivolously spending it. This obviously you don't need this money. I'm going to be taking it
Thanks.
for your loans.
Yeah. Your student
You're
loans.
almost into the interest at this point.
Right? Yeah.
Student debt the campaign.
Right. Oh my God. No, I don't want to play a horror game.
No,
I am laughing at chat, being like, I signed that contract when I was a minor.
you can't. Yeah.
Look, you got baptized. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got wet.
Yeah.
I don't tell you. That's the
It's not
rules.
me. It's the big
Yeah.
guys upstairs. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
You made a
Yeah.
promise.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, has anyone seen the Beetlejuice musical?
Ugh.
Their way of getting
Yeah.
around the like creepiness of the marriage. It's
Yeah.
just like a green card thing. It's not. I'm not actually going to marry her.
Yeah. It's very funny. All right, second question. Have any GMs ever trolled PCs? Like,
Yes.
actually-
End of
yes,
conversation.
Yeah.
Like one of them finds a message tied to their horse that reads, "I'm pregnant. Contact me."
Okay, no, I am not. I did not want to know where you were going with this.
Wait, the horse?
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Right.
No, that's not supposed to be the horse. It's like
Yeah.
someone left a message.
Loki.
Right.
Right? All right. Or in a modern setting, they get a text, "I buried a body. Now what?" When the players investigate, they discover it was just someone playing a prank on random people, and the PC just got unlucky. Would it be bad form and a violation of trust on the GM, or could it be a no stakes side story to break any tension of a larger story arc? Alibrant. P.S. Bill Roper is also the name of the local folk album dealer here in Chicagoland sci-fi conventions.
Ah,
Oh, that's
nice.
funny.
So, well, okay. So I love the idea of trolling them. I don't love the idea of making it where it actually wasn't a thing. Like, like not being the thing they expect, sure, but making it where like, oh no, it was actually just some kid playing a prank and just randomly texting you, like that I think leads to a situation where you're telling the players that hooks that you give them are not actually going to lead to interesting story developments.
Yeah.
And so I would caution against that.
Yeah.
But
Specifically, also, it makes people feel like they wasted their time.
right,
If
yeah,
they spend
yeah.
3 of their like twice a month 4-hour session like chasing down this thing, they
Yeah.
think there's a body, and then it's like, oh, I meant to text Phil from third period. I
Yeah.
didn't know it was gonna be you. Like,
Right, yeah.
You're like, the fuck.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But the idea of like your friend texts you, "I buried the body, now what?" And you find out that somebody has been impersonating you and having your friend help them cover up murders that they're doing on your behalf. Like, especially if you're like playing a vampire game, could be a lot of fun. Like, yeah. But I would make it something meaningful and real.
Yeah.
Not trolling for trolling's sake, but trolling to like make them all go, "What the fuck is that all about?" No, and having nobody really have any idea where this hook is coming from. I think that's totally cool.
Yeah, or they like track down this kid, and the kid's like, "No, it was a joke," and they go check it out, and there's really a body. He's like, "No, I didn't actually bury a body."
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. I thought I was just kidding.
I was kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the caveat to me is I think that you can do this, but I think it has to lead to a payoff that maybe isn't what's expected by the prank, but it does still lead to a thing or something that they did while trying to solve it does still set up the plot, so it's like a weird like Rube Goldberg machine of getting to it. Right. Or it better be really funny.
Yeah.
Like that's the only other thing. Like we did that one time in a game where we had a DM in a D&D game who we were on a ship and it was our ship. So like we knew most of the crew, but there was one person, like a hired crew, who kept looking at one of our characters. And so we got suspicious that this person was like trying to assassinate this character. But then we ran with it the other way where we actually like, it turned out this character just had a crush on this character, and we actually did the opposite, where we threw out everything our DM had planned that day, and instead we played a whole like hour of matchmaker weird writing opportunity. But the fun thing was there was an assassin on the ship; it just wasn't that woman. So we were spending so much time focusing on the side plot that the DM was able to then still take a fun, exciting thing and surprise us with it. Yeah. Like, so it was still paid off well, but we had a lot of laughs before then.
Yeah.
So,
that's super fun. Like, oh, this thing that you think is a big deal is not what you expected is totally cool. But having it be something that doesn't actually lead to real character development or plot development, that's when you get you start to lose the trust of your players.
Yeah, it's not like Skyrim where if you go down like an alley and it ends up just being a bunch of kids with like hats, you're like, okay, that's a fun little gag. It's a fun little sight gag to see in a video game. If I turn around, I can go steal something from my house right now. Like, it's fine. Like if you're right. If you're only playing like so many hours a month and you get this thing and it feels wasted, it's going to be really frustrating.
For sure.
There's
Especially
a cost element too.
And especially if they're taking time out of it out of a bigger story.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if they have other things that like are with clocks ticking on them, they're trying to get to a certain place or whatever. It's like, oh, we're going to take time to, we're going to go fight the big vampire. Oh, but oh, there's a body. Okay, we better look into this.
Right.
Oh, it's a prank. Okay, well, I'm glad that we spent time on that instead of killing the vampire who's actually murdering people. Like, you know, it's just it's very icky and frustrating.
Yeah.
At least give him a toy at the end. Give him like a magic
Right.
item.
Right.
Give him,
Right,
oh,
right,
oh,
yeah.
I have this glowing rod, and you find
Yeah.
out like it's a. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that made it worth doing it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even it could be something like you find out that the kid playing the prank is actually very important to the bad guy, or you know, or like this kid actually like somehow ended up inheriting the book that will, you know, that can end the reign of the evil person that you're fighting. You know, like if it leads you to something that could be pivotal on the story, then it makes it worth it. But just to be like, no, it was just a prank. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like a season of a TV show. We all hate the filler episodes.
Right.
It's like we all get invested in like, okay, this is the storyline that I care about, and then it's like you didn't even talk about it this episode. What?
Yeah.
This is what everyone's been focusing on all this time.
Yeah.
And we're not even gonna mention it. Like,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, we hate those episodes. Don't do that to your players.
Yeah, please don't.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
All right. Mailbag
Okay.
number 3.
I don't know if this is a horror story, but it's definitely not a success story. But I was thinking of what the pettiest, most harmless thing one has done in gaming, and here's the one I always remember. Back in college, when I was running D&D, one friend would always talk about his character, and every time he described them, he, without a doubt, would say, they're tall, quite tall for an elf. So one time I put a trap in a dungeon that ended up shrinking his character 5 inches. He was very upset about it, but thankfully the game didn't end. It was more like a fuck you, damn it. Now he's not the tallest of his village. In the end, another GM had his character grow 6 inches, so it balanced out, and we are all still laughing about it. What about y'all?
That's
Jolene.
Okay.
Jolene.
That's good trolling.
Jolene.
That's that's how you troll.
Yeah, that's very fun and cute.
Yeah.
And like I would have kept the person. I would have always. I would have had people go, look at. Did you get shorter?
Right?
Oh man, I would have like invented like elven lifts.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. Right? Yeah.
Those are weird. What's with your shoes? Nothing. They're new style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am the tallest in my village.
Right? Yeah. Totally.
Like
still
lean
tall.
lean into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So good.
great. Yeah. I don't know
That's
that I've
genius.
had one that I've done. I had one that was done to me that was fantastic, and
Yeah.
I loved it. So we were playing Dark Ages Vampire. I was a French toreador because of course I was.
Of course you were.
And my friend Chris was playing Samichi, who was pretending to be a Ravenna. So we didn't know that he had the flesh crafting stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I was always like sneering down on him, and you know, and talking about how gross he was, and how worthless, and you know, and how smart and beautiful I was, and all that. And so like I was like, it was, and we knew going into it that this is the relationship we were gonna have. Like we were having fun with it. But like my character was an asshole to his character, who was also plenty of an asshole in his own right, and totally deserved it. But
vampire.
It's vampire. Yeah. But we were on a ship. We were taking a boat from one place to another, and he snuck into my cabin and flesh crafted my mouth away.
Oh wow.
So my character woke up and is just furious and is just like so pissed off, and like, because we didn't know that he could do this, so we'd have no idea who did it to me, and nobody suspects him at all. And you know, we all know at the table that he's the one who did it, but in character it was like, oh my god, this is
so funny.
Yeah. And what I ended up doing was I was like, well, I'm a vampire, so I just like took a knife and just cut my mouth open.
Oh, yeah.
And so just like blood bleeding, and I'm like, who did that to me? And it was just like, it was petty and stupid, and it was just like the best session. It was so much fun.
That's
so
amazing.
yeah, I'm gonna, So that would be mine. And yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been petty like that as a GM. I feel like I'm like, I don't know. I feel like my mom vibes as a GM is just too strong. I want everyone to play nice together.
Right? Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever done that as a GM. I've definitely been petty as fuck as a player sometimes.
Uh-huh.
There's like too many to count, I think. But like, there's a lot. There's a lot of. I feel like vampires like rife with that.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
yeah. But yeah, especially if you're playing like Sabbat characters or non-Camarilla Camarilla characters, like the pettiness is it's just there. It's so much fun, and it's a great time because like, what are you gonna do? Kill them? You're not gonna kill them. You don't have permission, or whatever. No, you're going to make their life shitty because you can do that, and you can fuck with them because you're a vampire, and that's the only way you can get to them.
Yeah, and that's like that's the fun of playing Vampire. Vampire is a game full of finding petty ways to ruin somebody's life. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very fun and very fun to do. I think this isn't quite this, but it's the closest I can think of to it. Is I played in a mage game, Mage the Ascension, the Mage the Awakening.
Oh, yeah.
That's the second set of them.
Yeah.
And this was actually heartbreaking, but it was awesome. It was like we were like, our group was breaking away from the like organized Camarilla like groups, so we were like sunsetting all the plots that were happening in the town, and my character had always been this like reckless hero type, like a acanthus, so it was all fate and stuff like that. And I would always like take on Paradox to like save everybody else, and so I was like, and there was like this whole legend about my character that they were like supposed to have sacrificed themselves to save something, and so that was like this build up for it or whatever. And we got to this whole sequence, and my storyteller put me through the most brutal thing of like, my character was supposed to sacrifice themselves and was going to do it. Nobody wanted them to do it, but like, no, I have to. This is my fate. This is my destiny. I'm a hero. I'm going to do this. And so my storyteller sat me down and had me role play this vision that my character had that was like the rest of their life if they hadn't done it, and like how happy it would be and all the things that would be good, the marriage they would have, the children they would raise, and so and then I had to still choose to sacrifice myself, and then I did it. And then after that, when I did it, my storyteller was, okay, so your character has died, and then she handed me a new sheet for the eldritch creature that had possessed my character's body when my character died and took over and was the creature that was going to destroy the city. So this whole time, if I had just chosen not to sacrifice myself, it wouldn't have happened. But because I chose to it, I became the sacrifice that brought the creature forth. And then she was like, okay, you're a assistant storyteller now. Have fun. And so then I had to run around as my character being inhabited by this monster and just go fight everybody else in the game.
Oh no!
And it was so fun, but it was coming off the heels of this heartbreaking, gut-wrenching thing. It was so beautiful, but it was like the glee that she had of being like, you just walked your character up to this ridiculous hero complex, but like that you gave them, you built it, it was very true to the character, but now they're the monster, and it was so good.
Oh my god,
So good.
Yeah, that's a beautiful moment, and you've got to it's got to have the payoff, right? If it felt frivolous or just cruel, it wouldn't be the same. But having that build up to realize like, no, I made the choice that I made, and for the right reasons for my character, and the fact that it resulted in something that actually is worse than if I had not done it, like, that sucks, but man, what a good character arc.
Yeah, and it was such a cool thing because it was a thing that I had written in my backstory, this like sacrifice complex thing, and that was like a thing that my storyteller like took the little seed from my backstory and then fed it into her like ongoing city plot that was ongoing for years before I started playing in it.
Oh,
it was
cool.
so great.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't petty, but it was like freeing, I guess. Is also from a World of Darkness game. When we did our big long campaign, Mode of Sin, I was like the Ventru. Eventually I made Prince. And I was just like momming everybody. Like, okay, like I had two gang girls who just like wouldn't stop arguing with each other. And like, it's just like the most stressful, like, it like suddenly was like, oh God, I've become the teacher in my game. How did this happen? So eventually that character, spoilers, died. It's like 10 years ago now at this point. But so I rolled up another character that was a Setite, and I was just chaos personified. Like I was like, I will destroy fucking everybody. Everything's fine. It was just like Kimmy's cathartic. Like, I'm no longer in charge of all you bitches. Like, let's like wreck shit.
Oh yeah.
So that was very nice, and that was there's a little bit of pettiness in there.
Right?
I will own the petty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have one more to share.
Yeah.
I'll try and keep it brief. But so I was in this long running campaign, and in my so I was playing a pyromancer sorcerer from Kalimshan. So if people know Faerun, Kalimshan is sort of like Arabia kind of analog or anagram. Anyway,
I think analog was right. Yeah.
Yeah.
analog. Yeah. And so my friend Seth was playing this paladin from Cormyr, who was a farm boy who wanted to be like a great purple dragon knight. And so my character had a huge crush on his character, but also was like, every time he would say something kind of bumpkiny or do something kind of dumb, as paladins are wont to do, I would say to the person who he did this in front of, I was like, he's from Cormyr. And so I would just do this all the time, like he's from Alabama. Ugh.
Yeah.
And so, sorry,
Happy Jack
apologies.
RPG would like to apologize to anyone who's from Alabama.
I
a
don't
lot of
apologize
reasons, for a lot of
for
reasons.
a lot of things.
I apologize, you're in Alabama. No, sorry.
You're not
but
making it better.
I'm sorry, yeah. So anyway, I kept saying this all the time. And then, and like, this was like level 1 all the way up through like level 9 or 10 or so that we had this ongoing gag of saying that. And then around level 9 or 10, my character encountered a book that couldn't resist reading, and bam, went mad, and lost control of my character.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a new character who was a war mage, and so I didn't tell everybody where this new character was from, but he was very like noble, well-spoken, erudite, well-mannered, just pinnacle of class. And so the first session, my friend Seth did something bumbly stupid, as his paladin always did, and he looks at my character and he goes, "I'm from Cormyr, sorry," and I summon all of my French Toreador internal class, and I go, "I'm from Cormyr."
So great.
So good.
And he fucking lost it.
Yeah.
And it was an in-character pettiness, but
So
brought
great.
on by, it was like 10 levels just to set that up. And it was wonderful.
Love
So,
it. That's
yeah.
genius.
Yeah. Anyway, so, yeah.
Also, a couple of Oklahoma.
Right. Yeah.
Oklahoma bumpkins,
I know. Yeah.
yeah, dragging Alabama. Not so appropriate. Just,
I should have chosen Mississippi. It's the one place worse than Oklahoma. Yeah.
I mean, they have water, so I don't know.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess Oklahoma does now.
Yeah.
But for a while, we were out of it.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Anyway, Oklahoma, Alabama, Mississippi, you're all lovely, except when you're not. It's fine.
Let's put it that way. The people who are enjoying Happy Jack's RPG that are from those
Yes.
places
Yes.
are probably very lovely
They know.
people.
They know exactly.
Right? Yeah.
They know
yeah.
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
They also have to deal with it firsthand so often. They probably
yeah.
don't
We
need it
love-
up in their face.
Yeah, we
Right,
love
yeah,
you. We love
right,
you, and we
yes.
support you as
Yes.
you live in these places.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
And there are places in California that are just as
Oh yeah. Very true. Yeah.
Live
Yeah.
there too. All right. Thank you for joining us for the Happy Jack's RPG podcast, season 32, episode 15. Please support our amazing indie designer of the month, Rob Hebert, this is the last episode where we're talking about him. So go support his games. You can find his stuff at nerdypapergames.itch.io. Thank you to our chat mod, James V, and to our amazing patrons who keep us ad-free and independent. You can join their incredible ranks at happyjacks.org/Patreon. Amazing. Thank you, everyone who has changed and upped their pledges with our new design model. Apologies. I probably should have done that when it wasn't taking effect the month school started. I will catch up on that stuff. I promise I have it all planned out. It's amazing. It will happen. But yeah, I will update everything very soon. My name is Kimmy.
My name is Riley.
My name is Adam.
And today we're going to leave you with a song. It's called Battleship of Maine. It's by Stu Venable singing. And it is from his Netbuskers Folk Shop conglomerate, because now Stork and another guy named Phil are also in on that podcast and singing together and talking about stuff. So yeah, go check that out if you're interested. I think it's netbusker.net. So we will talk with you later, and we'll see you next week. At
Bye.
Strategicon. Bye.
Yeah, Strategicon.
Woohoo.
Bye.
McKinley called for volunteers, then I got my gun. First Spaniard I saw coming, I dropped my gun and run. It was all about that battleship of Maine. At war with that great nation Spain. When I get back to Spain, I wanna honor my name. It was all about that battleship of Maine. Why are you running? Are you afraid to die? The reason that I'm running is because I can't fly. It was all about that battleship of Maine. At war with the great nation Spain. When I get back to Spain, I want to honor my name. It was all about that battleship of Maine. The blood was a-running, and I was running too. I give my feet good exercise, had nothing else to do. It was all about that battleship of Maine. At war with the great nation Spain. When I get back to Spain, I want to honor my name. It was all about that battleship of Maine. At war with the great nation Spain. When I get back to Spain, I want to honor my name. It was all about that battleship of Maine. When they were a-chasing me, I fell down on my knees. The first thing I cast me eyes upon was a great big pot of peas. It was all about that battleship of Maine. At war with the great nation Spain. When I get back to Spain, I want to honor my name. It was all about that battleship of Maine. The peas, they were greasy, the meat, it was fat. The boys was fighting Spaniards while I was fighting that. It was all about that battleship of Maine. At war with that great nation Spain. When I get back to Spain, I want to honor my name. It was all about that battleship of Maine. At war with that great nation Spain. When I get back to Spain, I want to honor my name. It was all about that battleship of Maine.